Welcome to Public Speaking with Peter George. Do you want to be calm, confident, and credible every time you speak in public? Then stay tuned as Peter and his guests discuss public speaking tips, techniques, and tactics that help you increase your impact, influence, and income. Here's your host, Peter George.
When it comes to public speaking, what makes you happy? Is it realizing that you nailed your talk? Is it knowing that you served your audience well? Is it that you can finally live the life you've been dreaming about for so long? And what about life? What makes you happy in life? In this episode, we take a departure from our usual discussions about public speaking and talk about happiness. Why? Well, for two reasons. One reason is that, to me, public speaking and happiness go hand in hand. The other reason is that when I learned about Mike Duffy and his mission in life, I wanted to interview him so he could share his message with you. Mike is a philanthropist, speaker, and author of 5 books on the subject of happiness. For these books, he has interviewed the top thought leaders, athletes, rock stars, CEOs, and celebrities on happiness, work-life balance, resilience, and success. Mike loves to speak about how you can gain greater happiness and joy in your life, and has given a TEDx talk about happiness at TEDx Berkeley. He started the Happiness Hall of Fame to recognize, encourage, and celebrate people and organizations that make other people happy. Here's my conversation with Mike Duffy. Hi, Mike. Welcome to the show.
Peter, it is an absolute pleasure to be here. We're going to have a lot of fun. Your listeners are going to learn how to live a happier life, and we're going to have a few laughs. I'm really looking forward to it.
I am as well. Mike, would you share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and who you serve?
Sure. So I wear a couple of hats, but primarily I'm an author, a speaker, and I have been working in the field of happiness for over 30 years. So I've written 5 books on happiness, and I'm the founder of the Happiness Hall of Fame, which has a lot of very famous folks in it, like Muhammad Ali, Deepak Chopra, Steph Curry, Dr. Wayne Dyer, Serena Williams, the San Francisco Giants, the Golden State Warriors, Dolly Parton, my personal favorite, the Wounded Warrior Project, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and over 200 people and organizations that make other people happy.
How long has it been around?
About a decade.
How did you get there? It's not something you just wake up and do. Is it something you wanted to do over time, or was it sort of an evolution?
I am a silver linings guy. So sometimes from great tragedy comes great things. So when I was 17 years old, my beautiful mother, Sheila Duffy, after a cancer diagnosis, 3 months later, she had passed. And both of my parents had a 6th grade education. So obviously money was very tight. There was no money for any kind of a therapy. That was completely out of the question. So I had to take it upon myself to get out of this Great Depression. So I read everything I could on happiness, self-improvement, success. I even got a degree in psychology. I was completely obsessed with how somebody like myself could become happier sustainably. So that was really the start. And, some people are really into different hobbies. I am a voracious reader, both on science and psychology, and also ancient wisdom, biblical wisdom, wisdom from the Stoics, you name it. If it has anything to do with philosophy of happiness, I've read it.
What are the challenges have you had along the way? I'm sure this didn't go as smoothly as we might think with the word happiness and the like. You had to have faced challenges.
It's called daily living. Okay. So I've got 2 kids. There's 2 challenges right there. All of us, because of the way we were built, when we were cavemen trying to run away from, the beasts that were after us, from the snakes, from the spiders, We are just built to look at what's wrong, right? So we have to overcome that with modern sensibilities, that things will work out. So, our thoughts on a moment by moment basis, we're constantly getting bombarded. And it's only been exacerbated by the internet. So many negative things on the internet. And the reason why I started the Happiness Hall of Fame is I wanted to be the antidote. I wanted to bring a light on amazing organizations like Make-A-Wish that produce happiness for dying children. Why there's not a show weekly about success stories on Make-A-Wish? Who wouldn't want to watch that show? And by the end of the show, feeling that humanity is fantastic. But we don't get those shows. What we get is true crime, murder. You know that guy? It's because that's what our ancient lizard brain wants to consume. That's what sells.
Well, when facing the challenges you have, and that we all do on that daily basis, it's easy to get frustrated and maybe just give up. How do you find that inspiration to overcome those frustrations?
Well, Peter, what I'm most known for is my happiness formula. So I've got a TED Talk, which people have said is very funny because I like to laugh, right? I'm Irish. The Irish people like to laugh. It's just in our DNA, right? So if you want to watch a funny TED Talk, look at the critical importance of friends on your happiness. That's the title of my TED Talk, because friends are life's gold. And what I'm most known for is P plus P equals H. So let's break that down. Purpose plus progress equals happiness. Okay, so a decade ago, I wrote down what my purposes are in life: to be a great husband to my wife, Shannon, who's an amazing woman, soulmate. I really got blessed with my wife. I told my wife if she ever leaves me, I'm coming with her. Okay, that's how much I love my wife. And then to the right column, I wrote down steps, how I can make progress being a great husband. So for example, I learned a long time ago, it's much cheaper to hire a babysitter than it is a divorce attorney, right? So every Saturday night, I would have a stable of babysitters. So if one dropped off 15 minutes before she was supposed to show up, I had Old Reliable to plug in. She was showing up. And then I would say to my wife, you pick the restaurant. You pick the movie we're going to do too. You pick whatever you'd like to do this coming Saturday. We know what times we have because my dad was a very wise man. He wrote poetry for 50 years. My favorite piece of my dad's poetry is love is the center point of living. If you can get that down in your spirit, you'll be happy. So he said to me, Mike, when you get married, you become as one. At first, you're going to butt heads, but as the years go on, you will become as one. And when you are one, you will not want to say derogatory things to your wife because that's hurting yourself. You will only want to raise her up. By raising her up, you will raise yourself up. Okay? So the next one was become a great father to my children. So the action steps for that: coach every sport that they ever played, including sports like soccer, which I hate. Okay. And you just go down the list because we have multiple purposes. So your question was, how do we overcome these obstacles on a day-to-day basis? You need to identify your purpose and stay true to your purpose, make progress in your purpose, and that's when happiness shows up. Getting drunk on vacation for a short period of time may make you happy, but the hangover the next day won't. That's hedonic happiness. Sustainable happiness is eudaimonic happiness, which is the happiness you receive from making other people happy.
Which is very important. I know that much of my own success was due to people who helped me along the way. Was there a particular person who helped you or encouraged you to be who you are?
That would be my father. My father, what a man. He was the Irish Frank Sinatra. So he, you've heard the expression at the drop of a hat. He wouldn't wait for the hat to drop in order to start singing. We would be out to breakfast and he would just start to stand up. He'd put his hand on my shoulder and be like, I feel a song coming on. And he would serenade wherever we were. You couldn't stop the man, right? He had a joy. He had a joie de vivre, right? And as a child, if you have children, you know this. You're always embarrassed of your parents, right? But I watched him and he was such a great role model. And he would talk to anybody. And now it's kind of reversed. My kids are shy and they'll say to me, aren't you embarrassed to talk to that stranger on the street? I'm like, no, time is running out. I want to know everybody's story. I want to bring some joy. So it was my dad.
I know exactly how you feel. He was the same for me. And also a singer, except Italian.
Really?
Excellent singer.
What kind of songs did he like to sing?
Oh, a lot of things from that era. Sinatra, the Mills Brothers. He won competitions, used to do open mics and things like that when he was young. But he would tell me about the times that he and his local buddies in a particular area of Providence, Rhode Island, would literally stand on the corner and do a cappella.
I love it.
If we were at a wedding, my family was at a wedding, he would often be called upon to go up to the mic and sing for the bride.
Yeah, we had the same upbringing, Peter.
Yeah, very much so. And I don't know about you, but it stopped with my dad. I can sing a little, but not like he did.
I can't sing at all. So we didn't get that gift, unfortunately.
No, it's one of the talents maybe they didn't help us with. My dad's been going over 30 years, more than half my life, and still my hero to this day.
Yeah, agreed.
So, Mike, a career like yours doesn't necessarily, it wouldn't be one we'd see in a college catalog. So what advice do you have for someone who wants to pursue something similar to your career?
Well, I am a money manager. So I have my own firm called Happiness Wealth Management. What else would I call it? But what I like to tell people is that we live in a reality where you have to pay your bills. Okay. And most of the people that are listening right now have a 9-to-5 job, right? Or a job that maybe they're not pleased with. You can always do a side hustle, right? So whatever your dream is, you can get it started while you're doing something else. It doesn't have to be as dramatic as I quit my job and I'm going to do with my dream. You can do that too. But why not start out small, make little changes? God put in all of our hearts a desire, a dream. And unfortunately, most people squash that dream because they're afraid of criticism from other people. Brene Brown out of the University of Houston has studied vulnerability and courage her entire career. And she talks about living your life in the arena. So let's look at that. If you've ever watched a boxing match, you have two people going at it, right? And surrounding them are all the people in the cheap seats, raining down boos. Half the people are for one person, the other half is for the other people. You've never seen a boxing match stop and they turn around and say, please, you're hurting our feelings. We can't continue this boxing match if you keep insulting us, right? It doesn't happen. Why? Because these people are in tune with their purpose. Their purpose is to be a great fighter and to win. So identify your purpose, identify your dream, start on it today and ignore the haters. You will have, so for example, I love my kids. I don't like to put things on the television that is questionable or not, objectionable. So we watch a lot of Food Network, right? And Guy Fieri, who's in the Happiness Hall of Fame, has a show called Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. He goes all around the country, up into Canada, and he identifies great places to go eat. And one time I turned to my wife several years ago and I go, that's it. When we retire, we'll rent a mobile home And we'll go around this great, beautiful country, and we'll go to the restaurants that really appeal to us on the show. And my wife looks at me and she says, good luck with that. Because she'd rather die than get into a mobile home, right? So you're always going to have people that object to your dream, right? Ignore the haters and just go with what you want to do.
During our time together here, you use the word happiness numerous times. What does the word actually mean to you?
Contented excitement.
Can you elaborate?
Sure. So in life, you want to be content, right? How you doing? I'm content. But you also want to have some excitement, right? So all of your needs are met, but you're also excited for things that are coming, right? Whatever that might be. Anxiety is the enemy of happiness, and so is worry. You can't be worried and happy, right? That's why you have to have faith that things will work out in the end. And if it hasn't worked out yet, it's not the end.
Just making a note of that. I love that. Mike, much of the world is emerging from an extremely difficult time. How can we increase our happiness now?
So again, I'm a silver linings guy, and I've been asked to speak all over the country, all over the world on Zoom. I'm hired by companies to talk about what's next coming out of COVID. Look at COVID as not this tragic event, because you have to rewire your circuitry in your brain. Look at it as a great reset in your life, right? Before COVID, we were just going. There was no time to think, no time to reflect. We've had a year and a half of self-reflection, okay? So that's behind you. Whatever you learned from there, and I think the biggest thing that we've learned is that loneliness is a terrible thing. So what is my prescription for coming out of COVID? Make as many love relationships as you can, as many friendships as you can. Check in on people, get together, throw more parties, really put the pedal to the metal and understand that relationships are what are going to make you happy. Sitting alone in a room is no good. Get out there, chase your dreams, make it happen. The reason why we love watching TV, and especially movies, especially hero story movies, action movies, where the underdog gets to victory, we are projecting ourselves in the role of hero during that 2.5-hour movie. We've been doing that for a year and a half now because we couldn't leave our homes. Let's forget about movies. Let's forget about television. And let's put ourselves in the role of hero in real life. Let's go out and volunteer. Let's go out and make a difference, a positive difference. By doing that, you will make other people happy. But more importantly, you'll make yourself happy.
Why do you think so many of us are reluctant to do that?
We're afraid. Fear, if you break it down, is false evidence appearing real. We are programmed to be afraid so that we can see the next day, so we don't step in a hole and break our leg and die in a cave somewhere. It's just a basic function of our old brain. So you have to understand that if you volunteer at a dog shelter, you're going to be okay. If you love dogs, do it. If you love cats, volunteer at a cat shelter. I have a homeless outreach. Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity is in the hall. In order for them to get in the hall, they had to, the local convent here in San Francisco, had to call India and get approval. India approved it. And so I was invited to come up to the convent. And I brought my daughter with me, who at the time was 10 years old. I wanted her to witness these amazing women and how they have given everything in their lives for the poor. Everything. They're not even allowed to be photographed. I had asked them to come out to Stanford University. Every year we have a big event. People that are inducted into the hall get to give a speech. It's recorded. It's put on my website, happinesshalloffame.com. they're not allowed to be photographed. All for the poor. That's it. So I go up there, and I wanted to have the nuns have a wonderful dessert that night. So I got 24 very expensive cupcakes, and they let me in. I give them the award. I wasn't allowed to photograph Mother Superior with the award. And I said, here you go. And the Mother Superior said, Mike, our friends on the street will really enjoy these cupcakes. You see, Peter, in everybody's life, there are moments that words change the trajectory of my life. All of a sudden, the people that I saw on the street, the unseen, became my friends. And from that moment on, the next day, I started my homeless outreach, which has truly enriched my life as a human being. I have many stories about taking homeless people to different places, like meeting the players of the San Francisco Giants during batting practice. And it's just when, St. Augustine said 1,000 years ago, it's in giving that we receive. So don't be afraid to give.
Mike, you have a ton of inspirational stories. Do you have one or two that you can share with us? Maybe about someone we'll recognize?
I want to impress upon people that you can create things out of thin air. That's how everything you see in the physical world was once an idea in somebody's head. So whatever your dreams are, you can make it happen. I have always been a fan of Muhammad Ali. When I was a kid, Peter, I'm 54, we're around the same age. When we were kids, boxing and Muhammad Ali was huge. It's just not big anymore. But back then it was huge. Muhammad Ali was the biggest celebrity in the world, all around the world. And so, the underdog from Louisville. And Muhammad and his wife invited me to their museum to induct them personally into the hall. And I got to spend a couple of hours with them and hearing amazing stories that I've never heard about Muhammad. One of the stories he told me, actually his wife told me, and it was great to get it from her perspective, is that when they lived in Beverly Hills, they sell star maps. So star maps to the celebrities' homes. And from time to time, people, which had a lot of gumption, would ring the doorbell and say, hi, I'd like to meet Muhammad Ali. Well, if he came to the doorbell, and she's told me she would always run to the door to meet him there. But if he came to the doorbell, he would invite that person inside because he loved people. The facade that he put on, she said, was just a show. It was to sell tickets. That's not who he was as a human. So he would say, oh, would you like to come in for lunch? Would you like to come in for dinner? She would say, over dinner. She goes, and there I am. She goes, no wife wants a complete stranger. Could be a homicidal maniac sitting at the dinner table. And he would say, oh, so where are you staying? And, sometimes it'd be like, well, I just got off a bus from Kansas. I don't really have a place to stay. And Muhammad will say, yes, you do. You're staying with us. And they would stay for a couple of days, sometimes a week. And she would wait till Muhammad would get into his big Cadillac. And then he would pull down the street. He would go for errands or whatever it was. She'd walk over to the window, pull down the blinds, see him turn left. And she would say, okay, you're out. Get out. Right? And they'd be like, Muhammad said I could stay for as long as I want. I know, he's gone. You're out. And then Muhammad would come back and he'd be like, well, where's Jerry? And his wife would be like, oh, Jerry, classic Jerry. Got to keep moving, Muhammad. But you'd never expect that from somebody so famous.
That's a great story. If today was your last day on Earth, what would you say to the audience that's tuning in right now?
The first thing I would do is pray, because I believe that we have an eternal soul that continues on. So I would want to get good with God. Then the next thing I would do is I would go and tell everybody that I loved how much I love them and what a joy it's been to be with them. That's how it's been my last day.
Mike, where can our listeners connect with you online?
Well, if you are looking for a public speaker, you can go to MikeDuffySpeaks.com. If you are looking for money management advice, I manage money in a different way as a financial planner. The first thing I ask is what makes you happy and how can we get you more of that? You can go to happinesswealthmanagement.com.
Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure. I love your mindset and thankful for the things you've done to help people, make people happy in this life. It's wonderful to speak with you and listen to how you frame things.
Peter, thank you so very much. You have a great show, and I wish you a wonderful week, and it's been a blessing to spend this time with you. Thank you so much.
That's a wrap of another episode of Public Speaking with Peter George. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Tune in Monday when you'll hear another episode of Public Speaking with Peter George, and again Thursday for your next episode of Quick Bites, public speaking tips and techniques you can digest in 5 minutes or less. Until next time, remember, when it comes to speaking in public, you've got this.